thing I like about London is that it's a big city, but it also has so much nature and you're never far away from it. I don't mean just the sparrows, the pigeons, or foxes. I mean the other bird species, the green parrots that fly over London occasionally, the storks, the deers. You can really take in some of this nature in some of the royal parks. I think Richmond Park is one of the best parks in London for animal lovers. It's the largest royal park in London and it's in the borough of Richmond upon Thames, so it's just about a 45-minute drive from central London to get to the park. You can also get there by public transport and it's free to visit. As soon as you enter the park, you can start seeing some deer. They can be found pretty much anywhere around the park. Richmond Park is home to over 630 red and fallow deer. It roams around the park freely and it has been since the 1600s. Red deer is the largest land mammal native to the British Isles. Fallow deer is usually smaller in size and usually has spots. This one here, this is the red deer, the one about to cross the road. You can drive or cycle around some parts of the park, but some are closed off, and when you drive, deer can cross the roads at any time. So you're not supposed to feed the deer. It's illegal and you have to stand at least 50 meters away from them. You're not supposed to feed the deer because it teaches them to approach humans for food, which can be dangerous. There are warning signs at the park not to feed them, but I still saw some people giving them food. Some will approach you if they see you with food, especially if you're having a picnic, but you're still not supposed to feed them. This young male deer approached me because I had some snacks with me. I'm guessing he can smell the food quite easily. At this point, I didn't know what to do, so I just decided to stay calm and see what happens. They look harmless, but then again, they are wild animals, so it's unpredictable on what they can do next. The deer eats the grass and other organic plants that are found in the park. The deer actually protects the landscape because they prevent tree seedlings from growing, and this keeps the grassland open. So the park's survival is also dependent on the deer. Unlike mowing, deer grazing creates more variation in structure and plant diversity. This park is meant to be as natural as possible, that's why it's advised not to feed the deer. The deer are meant to live as they would in the wild without a lot of human intervention. Richmond Park is a national nature reserve. Not only does it have wild deer and other animals, I also saw some really interesting plants like these mushrooms. They have these boards that detail most of the common flora and fauna found in the park. So if you decide to visit, try to spend some time reading this as it gives you more information. Apparently the park has a lot of rabbits, but I didn't see any. I was probably too distracted by the deer because most of them are just right in your face and I had to ignore. Richmond Park is approximately 2,500 acres, so there's plenty of room for the 630 deer to run around. However, they still do population control. There isn't that many predators and these 2,500 acres of land would still not be enough if the number of deer was too high. If the numbers were too high, some could die of starvation, also diseases could spread easily. So, a bit of simplified history of the park. In 1625, King Charles moved his entire court to Richmond Palace to escape the Great Plague in London. He stocked the park with 2,000 red and fallow deer that can still be seen at the park these days. It became a favourite royal hunting ground, and in 1637, King Charles built a brick wall 8 miles long to restrict access from the locals to the park. This caused public uproar, and later on the king installed a ladder into the wall to give locals access to the park. You can still see the wall at the park in recent times. Following the execution of King Charles, custodianship of the park passed to the Corporation of the City of London. It was later returned to the restored monarch Charles II on his return to London in 1660. In the 1700s, Princess Amelia restricted access to the park for the general public again. This caused another public uproar. Then a brewer called John Lewis took the case to court. He won the case and the general public had the right of access to the park again. So we can now thank John Lewis for having access to the park. The mating season for deer takes place in autumn. Male deer competes for females. The large males roar, bark, and clash antlers in an attempt to fight off rivals and attract as many potential mates as possible. During this time, visitors have to be extremely vigilant, and the deers can easily attack dogs as well. So if you plan to visit with a dog, then please be aware of this. May onwards is another season to look out for if you plan to visit with a dog. This is because this is deer birthing season, and on average more than 200 deer are born in Richmond Park. It's a vulnerable time for deer. During this time, female deer can act very defensively if they see a dog. So it is recommended that you walk your dog outside of the park. This is between the 1st of May till the 31st of July. You can rent a bike at Richmond Park to cycle around it. It has cafes, so you can really plan a whole day for this park. They actually have this place called the Isabella Plantation. I just don't like the word plantation because of the history attached to it, but it's a botanical garden. You can also hike to it. It was a long way from where I was, so I didn't manage to get there. I wasn't willing to hike for 30 minutes, but if you're interested, you can check it out when you visit. You could also take a horse-drawn carriage ride. The details are on the Royal Park's website. They also have equestrian facilities, so if this is your thing, it's also available at the park. Richmond Park has spots as well where you can see the St. Paul's Cathedral. You can also see a panoramic view of London skyline. I also recommend Petersham Nurseries. This is a great place for plant lovers. It also has a deli and a shop. The Royal Parks charity looks after Richmond Park and 7 other Royal Parks in London. You can find out more details on their website if you would like to make a donation. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.